Hi, friends. This is Wendy Harrop, and welcome to the Say Yes to Yourself podcast. On the Say Yes to Yourself podcast, you'll hear stories from women just like us who are adding the practice of saying yes in their daily lives in big and small ways, and as a result, are experiencing the truth that everybody wins when you say yes to yourself. Saying yes to yourself is a graceful unfolding, an intentional becoming of the very best version of you. It is my hope that in these conversations, we are able to find our truth and be inspired and empowered to live our very best lives. I'm so excited to go on this journey with you, and I look forward to finding a bit of our own story in each other's. Hello, friend. Welcome back to the podcast. I'm very excited to have you here. And I'm giggling because, I record these episodes quite a few weeks prior to their air date. And it's so funny when I tell you about this week's guest, you're just going to giggle with me. But first, I want to tell you why that's so funny is because this particular week, I did tell you previously that July, I was focusing on foundations and going through all my piles, and I didn't add anything new to the calendar. And here I am in the first week of August, and I hosted the Say Yes Summit, which is 2 days long. I have a TV show that was filmed here for 2 days, and I have farm stay guests here for 2 nights. So I went from hardly anything on my calendar except for chores, and this week has been unbelievably full, completely life-giving, totally in alignment, all of the good things. And I just think it's hilarious that today's conversation is with Peggy Sullivan, who is a recovering busyness addict. Her always on lifestyle led her everywhere except where she truly wanted: success, happiness, and health. Most of us suffer from time poverty with no manual to escape it. And after decades of research, she's developed a simple but powerful truth: doing less helps us achieve more. As a keynote speaker, author, and researcher, she helps individuals and businesses break free from the myth that busy equals success. Her methods have transformed teams and Fortune 500 companies like Google, Bank of America, and Blue Cross Blue Shield, unlocking peak performance, self-care, and real happiness. But she's not done yet. It's time to replace hustle culture with happiness culture. In her new book, Beyond Busyness, she shares her 3-step busy busting methodology, already helping thousands escape the busy trap. Clearly, I need to listen to this podcast too, but she is wonderful. She was one of our panelists on our June Say Yes Summit. She is a phenomenal human. You are going to love this conversation with Peggy Sullivan. Peggy, I am so looking forward to this conversation. I love the work that you're up to. And as a recovering slash, I feel like once you're an addict, always an addict, to being busy and being a super fan of my calendar because of what I made that mean about me. I am very, very excited to have this conversation with you, to learn from your beautiful insight and share that with our listeners at the same time. So thank you so much for being here.
It's a pleasure to be here. Let's face it, busyness, overwhelm, burnout, diminished productivity, they're at epidemic proportions, and people are really clamoring to figure out, how can I do things differently? People are redefining success and what it means to them, and they want more boundaries. And so it is my pleasure to give people a little bit of the secret sauce, the how-to.
Yeah, I love that. When this probably was 15 or 20 years ago, I was living in California on staff at my church, and we did a program that had us look at different areas of our life that were addictions and use a 12-step method to move through these things. And even though nobody on staff at our church, thankfully, was suffering from, narcotic addiction or alcohol addiction, we chose different ideas, whether that was power and prestige, whether that was busyness. I can't remember what the other things were because mine was busyness. And I love a paper calendar, and I loved writing all of my things down and being organized. And as a wedding planner, I felt like that was a part of what made me successful, was creating a timeline. So I did that for every single day. And I realized how it started to become less in service to me and this thing that I was in service to.
You just nailed the definition of what an addiction is, because an
Mm.
addiction is really something that takes you away from the normal things that you be doing. It keeps you from doing the important things. And the thing about busyness is not only do we all love checking the boxes and getting things done, but there's an adrenaline hit, there's a dopamine hit that's associated with it. So neurologically, we get a hit of adrenaline, feels good. So we want to do it again and again. And our reward system just tells us that busyness is good. And let's face it, our hustle society tells us busyness is good too. I can't get
Totally.
into that doctor for 6 months. He must be really, really good. My neighbor, he leaves at 7 a.m. in the morning, doesn't get home till 7 p.m. But hey, he's a rock star. He's been promoted 4 times. It's just the way we're wired to think.
Right. And nobody is mad at our over delivering or over giving. So it perpetuates the cycle.
Well, the reality is, if you really, and I'm a research geek, so if you really dig down into the research, you will start to understand that busyness doesn't equal success or productivity or improved health or any of that. Actually, it's quite the opposite. When we're over the top busy, we actually have diminished performance, diminished engagements, our relationships fall apart, our health falls apart. And so it's really counterintuitive if you look at the numbers and at the stats. And the funny thing I think about this particular addiction is we feel like victims. We feel like busyness happens
Mhm.
to us, like
That's right.
we are out of control and we cannot control our schedules. But the reality is we have power to control our schedules, and we can say yes and we can say no. And that does get sticky. Maybe somebody's wanting you to go to a couple of meetings, departmental meetings, and you're like, well, how can I take back control? I really need time to work. I don't want to be at that meeting that what we're going over I already know about, or it's not critical to what I need to accomplish. We need to take a step back and think about the greater good. And, for example, I was coaching somebody who didn't want to give up her departmental meetings. And so she found out that they were taking about 2.5 hours per week. And realized that she was putting in exactly 3.5 hours of overtime to catch up, time she couldn't get done on her work. So she went back to her boss and said, look, I love these departmental updates, but, I'm working on goal XYZ. Is that a priority for you? And her boss said, yes, absolutely. So when choosing this departmental meeting or working on that priority, what would you like me to do? Where is my priority? And ironically, no longer was she pulled and pushed to departmental meetings. So I think we need to understand that everybody around us wants us to succeed. So we need to work together better to understand our low value activities. And if we're not adding value or getting value, then maybe it's not something we should be doing.
Oh my gosh, I have so much to say about that. It's so good. First, I want to just recognize and acknowledge that as I shared that scenario from so many years ago, I'm really delighted that I'm not the same woman that I was then, which I think is so beautiful about, for me, it was turning 50 that these light bulbs just started to come into my awareness of, wait a minute, I've been doing things the best that I could with the tools that I've had, and I'm desiring to do things differently now. So I love that I had that personal awareness, and in reflecting on why was I so busy, I think it was twofold, and I'd love to hear your thoughts about this. First of all, I was trying to check a box in outside ways that was an actual inside job. And the second was I thought I was too busy to reflect on ways that I could become less busy. And there's so much to that pause or that pattern interrupt, whether that is going on vacation or for me in what the work I do now. I have this beautiful bed and breakfast, and I offer solo retreats where someone can just unplug and hold space for themselves to reflect, to dream, to reevaluate, to reinvent. And then I also do those on these beautiful culinary trips to France as well. And what I find is this pattern interrupt gives us the opportunity to reset, to remember what's important to us, and then to come back and re-engage in a new way. And I didn't mean all of that iteration, but there, now it's a keynote.
What normally happens is one of two things. We get tired of being tired and exhausted and overwhelmed, or we have a wake up call that is
Yeah.
so brilliant. It reminds us that we're not functioning at our best capacity. And I know for me, I had lots of wake up calls, and every time I heard them, I would enter the life of busyhood. So they woke me up, but they didn't really wake me up. And it was really not until I discovered a way, a methodology to handle my addiction, a go to strategy that really helped me cross over the line to a life that's much more rewarding and enjoyable. And I think for a lot of people, the how to, it's not that they don't desire it, it's not that they don't see that. It's just give me an actionable way, an easy 1, 2, 3 way where I can take micro steps and feel some relief and feel
Yeah.
good. And that's for me, my life mission is to help introduce the busy busting framework to as many people as possible because it's that go to framework that gets you to a life of meaning, a life of purpose, a life of productivity.
Oh, fantastic. Well, please share the goods.
Okay, great. Well, step one in the busy busting process is really about subtraction, and it's about
Mm,
eliminating low value activities. We all get stuck on these low value, non value add activities. We discussed earlier about too many meetings, and the reality is we spend 65% of our time in meetings and view only 1/3 of them as productive. So,
mm.
there's a great way to start. The average person looks at email 59 times a day. I mean, we spend a lot of time being interrupted. We let our phones interrupt us. We let people interrupt us. The other day, I was working on a Excel spreadsheet, and my husband came into the room and wanted to talk. And I'm like, sure, honey. And all of a sudden, I forgot what I was working on. And it took me a good 20 minutes to get back into it. So I think it's really, really important that people understand what their low value activities are. I developed a tool that I call the Busy Barometer that looks at 21 low value activities that deteriorate our productivity, our health, and our happiness. And I think once you understand what they are and you make a conscious choice to eliminate them, that's great. I had a friend who was VP at an international bank, and she used to spend her mornings looking at email. And I call it the email rabbit hole. And so she'd get up, she'd get sucked into the email rabbit hole. And before she knew it, a couple of hours went by. And so I asked her, what would happen if you didn't check email as much as you did? What would happen if you checked it twice a day? Would that be a problem for your customers? No. Would that be a problem with your response time? No. Well, what if you're more efficient instead of stop starting? What if you just did that? So she started a new habit. It was really, really hard for her. She had a post-it note on her computer, no email until 11 a.m., but she ended up saving 5 hours in
Wow.
her work week by not stopping and starting. And so the reality is, there are some micro steps, some simple things we can do to eliminate these habits that we get stuck doing so that we can have more time for the things that bring us joy and the things that we love. So that's step one. I call it subtraction.
I love that. May I ask a question about
Of
your
course.
earlier example? So you're working from home and you have a spreadsheet and your husband walks in. So which one of those is the low value item that needs to be adjusted?
In my mind, they're both high value things.
Totally.
However, it's the timing of it, right? I'm in the middle. I'm engrossed. I'm invested in this spreadsheet. My mind is focused. And the interruption, I said yes to the interruption. I personally let it in. Had I said, dear, I'd love to talk with you. I really need to finish what I'm working on. Can it wait 45 minutes? You know what? That would have been the smarter solution,
Okay.
but I didn't do that.
Right.
And I think that, when you have competing priorities, it's also about timing. And, if they truly are competing priorities, then you need to look at the timing and what makes most sense.
Thank you for that. And I love that concept title of competing priorities because I heard once, and I'm sure many people already know this, I just hadn't paid attention, that the word is actually priority, that you can't have priorities because there's only one. But I also disagree with that because as a woman, I think that we have the capacity of thinking about everything that's important to us all at the same time, all day long. And it's not that men can't do that, but I haven't met any. And I think that it is a competing priority. And having that system in place, whether it's a sticky note on the outside of my door. I don't have a husband that's interrupting me, but I have an 11-year-old who needs me, and I love being accessible to her. But if I'm recording a podcast, then I tell her, honey, I'm recording today. So if you need anything, I'm really not available until this time. If it's an emergency, please come in so she knows. But just having a system, even if it's a sticky note on your door that says, I'm not available until 11 a.m. or whatever, it lets those other competing priorities that can read know. that you are thinking of them and you are on a mission right now to get something else completed.
Yeah, I mean, it's about doing the right thing at the right time for the right reason, right? I think sometimes we can look at a decision and say, or at least I look at every decision I make and I say, am I getting value or am I adding value? And if there's no value exchange, then it's probably something that's not worth my while. And so
Mhm.
that's how I decide my yes or my no decisions. And then it's about timing and what makes the most sense so that I can get to the finish line in a way where I can truly focus on one activity at the time and do it justice. You know, you think about multitasking, and we all love to multitask. But the reality is, I have a friend who had her child unexpectedly home, and her husband couldn't stay home. And so she decided she was going to work and watch the child on her lap, and everything was going to be great. And you know what? She got to the end of the day and everything was great. And her biggest priority was getting out a couple of contracts. She got them out. Yay, go her. But the problem was one of the contracts that was supposed to be for $10,000 was for $1,000.
Oh no.
And she was distracted. She had her baby on her lap and, was showing everybody, I can do it all and I can do this and this is great. And she did a mistake that really cost her organization $9,000 and they ended up, making it right. But my point is that when we multitask, we make mistakes. It takes longer. I mean, we are meant to do one thing at a time. The way your brain is set up, your brain is not capable of
Right.
thinking about multiple things at a time. It just doesn't work that way. And so
Right.
we should stop forcing that.
Yes, and implementing a new system with grace and common sense of if you're listening to this and you're saying, "Oh, well, yeah, that would be really nice if I just, compartmentalized everything." But it's not a black and white situation. You're continuously course correcting. Just like you said, you are looking at each decision that you make, and your filter for that is, am I adding or delivering value to myself or to this other person or my mission or whatever? For me, my filter is, I'm only available for what delights me. So it's all the same thing, is does this yes or no decision feel good to me or not? But we can't, I don't think, effectively decide from now on, I am only going to do this no matter what, because we all know life is fluid and moving. And if everybody in our world didn't also read that book or listen to that podcast, they are going to be, quote unquote, challenging our excellent decision over and over again. So just implementing this new information in a way that is in service to the women we're becoming, the companies we're leading, the people that we're raising and in partnership with. How is this contributing to the collective whole in this moment? And then how do I need to course correct to make sure that that does, and to set up tomorrow to not have so many course corrections required.
Yeah. And let's face it, there are things in life that we can control and
Mhm.
things in life that we can't control. And when there's something we can't control, it's really our job to digest it and to get through it. And fortunately, unfortunately, there are a lot of changes going on right now, a lot of uncertainty. Just a lot of the world is being turned upside down, which is causing a lot of micro stress for a lot of people because they're out of their comfort zone. And the reality is, if you can't control it, you can't control it. I was sitting in an airport Friday night and I just wanted to get home, and my flight was delayed and delayed and delayed and delayed. And I was getting a little annoyed. And then I thought to myself, you know what, Peggy, can you control this? No. Are you going to get home tonight? Yes. Okay. This is not the end of the world.
Right.
Grab a good book and use this time wisely.
Yeah, exactly. We have so much power and we forget that in situations that feel powerless. And it's interesting, you were saying, at this specific time in history, there's a lot of uncertainty. And I was listening to a podcast yesterday that was recorded in January of 2020, which was like 42 lifetimes ago, and
Exactly.
using the same kind of language when they didn't even know about uncertainty. It was only January of 2020. So it's really interesting how sometimes we think it's never been this bad, or it's never been like this, or we've never felt so out of control. It's just a wacky place. And it's been a wacky place. It's also reminding me of my aunt had dementia. And one of the tests that they would do in the early onset of figuring out where she was mentally is they would ask her who was the president. And every single time she said, "Oh my gosh, that guy." And they couldn't tell if she was in the moment or somewhere else. So there are some things that we think are new, but in the way we're describing them, we've heard them before. So, all to your point, what we can control is our response, our reaction, how we feel, who we choose to be in that moment, and make the best decision that we can with the information that we have.
As women, we tend to be a little more heart than head. It's the way our biology is set up, and that's okay. But what I tell people is take a pause.
Yeah.
Just you don't need to react. Just take a
Right.
moment. Step out and do something different, push the reset button and see how you feel in a day. See how you feel afterwards. It's so easy to react and act, and it feels good. And then we get to a point saying, well, that really wasn't a productive response because it really didn't further what needed to be done. And so I always tell people take a pause.
Agreed. You will actually be so grateful that you did. I'm a journaler and I have different journals for different things. And I have a worry journal. So sometimes I feel like I need to honor this thing that I'm concerned about, but I also want to get it out of my body. And I also don't want to include it in an email to somebody that I think might be causing my worry. So that for me is a good practice and a part of the pause. There's a little bit of activity in that pause, but it's a shifting the energy to a place that I feel like I've checked a box by quote unquote saying it, but I don't have to live out any of the consequences of who I said that to.
Right. I love that. And what I do is I write it down, I crumple it in a ball, and I literally throw it over my shoulder and I
So
leave it on
good.
the ground all day. And then I pick it up at the end of the day and toss it in the garbage.
Right? It's so good.
Yeah, literal and figural.
Right. It felt so important. And then at the end of the day, when you read it, you're like, oh my gosh, so glad I threw that over my shoulder instead of hitting send. Oh, it's so good. Okay. I interrupted you from step two.
So, step two in the busy busting process is just about setting reset. We tend to think that happiness, it's a destination, it's a thing, it's a place. I'm going to be happy when I get the job, when I get to the weekend, when it's my birthday, when I get married. But really, so many of those things are such a journey, and happiness is such a superpower. We need to create our
Mhm.
own happiness. I call them happiness rituals. And if you look at the neurology of happiness, and I wrote my first book about happiness, and what I learned is when you are happy, your brain sends dopamine, serotonin to your body, giving you more ability to focus, having more energy, being a lot more collaborative, positive, likable. You fight off chronic disease. There's just so many benefits to happiness. So why don't we do little things that make us happy? And they can be little small things. Every day I take out a brush and I really brush my cat in the morning and I listen to him purr. And it's very rewarding for me because I know I'm adding joy for him. For 5 minutes, I'm just doing something small, but it makes me happy because I'm making my little fur baby all happy. And I just believe that there are these micro moments. Maybe you go eat a piece of dark chocolate. Maybe you just for 2 seconds feel the sun on your face. I was traveling to New York not too long ago and I was freezing and I went into bathroom and I put warm water on and I just put my hands in the sink for a minute. Felt so good. It was like a reset button. So many things we can do to reset.
Absolutely. I love that so much. And I'm so happy that I'm a constant practicer of step two. I'm only
That's great.
available for what delights me.
Well, that's great. I love that. And then step number 3 is really having a filter for your yes and no decisions. How do
Mm.
you align what's important? And how do you decide what's important? And so the approach that I take that works very well is I use my values and I call it values management versus time management.
Mm.
And I got very, very curious about values and what values equate to quality of life, productivity, health, happiness, a well-lived life. And what I learned is that there are actually 4 values that stack up to that. I researched about 12,000 individuals and asked them, when you have X, Y, and Z in your day, what makes you feel like you've had a really great, productive, successful day? And it turns out there's 4. One of them is energy management, which is self-care. It's spiritual, it's mental, it's physical, it's eating, it's sleeping, it's just focusing on setting yourself up for success by taking care of yourself. I always, tell people it's so cliche, a car doesn't run without gas, but guess what? Car does not run without gas, and neither do you. And you can't run
Right.
on fumes forever. It's just not the way.
And you would never consider not charging your phone.
Exactly. Exactly. And then I think the other one is connection, the second value, and
Mm.
human connection. We are amidst a loneliness epidemic. And the Surgeon General said what's going on in our world is equivalent to smoking 13 cigarettes a day. 1 in 10 people are severely lonely on a daily basis. I mean, that's insane.
Mhm.
So human connection is really important. And yes, it would be nice to always be out and see, feel, and touch people. But hey, we're connecting right now. I feel you. I see you. And it's lighting me up. And human connection is another value that is really important. The other one is growth and learning something new every day. My dad always used to say, Toots, a day without learning something new is a lost opportunity. So
Mm.
it's so important that we continue to grow and stretch ourselves because then we learn we can be resilient. Then we learn we can do hard things. And resiliency is the skill to have for today's day and age. With all this change, you want to know you can pivot and adjust. And so when you continuously seek out growth opportunities, that kind of sharpens that skill. And then the very last value, in addition to the energy management, the connection, the growth, is authenticity. And normally, when we think about authenticity, we think about being authentic to ourselves. But I believe authenticity in today's world means taking a step back and being open minded to other
Mm.
approaches, other solutions, other ways of resolving things, people that think differently, believe differently, offer different solutions. And what a world we would have if we could do that.
Oh my gosh, it's so beautiful. I love it. And I love that I haven't read your book, but I'm living so much of this already. It's very exciting. That makes it fun to read a book like that. And you can just underline and say yes, yes, yes. I'm so excited.
And it's like a scale too. You're
Mhm.
never I didn't ever hear anybody say, I'm too productive, I'm
Right,
too happy, I'm too healthy, right? I mean, you can continue to fill your cup and even get better at it.
right.
So, it's so worth our while to continue to take these micro steps and to do these things that help us live a more rewarding, productive, happy, healthy life.
Oh, it's so beautiful. Now, normally I would have led off with this question, but I'm really eager to hear now. How are you saying yes to yourself in this season?
In saying yes to myself, I think a lot of what I'm looking at is redefining success.
Mm,
And sometimes we look at ourselves and we set up goals, and those are our goals. And sometimes we need to take a step back and say, well, you know what? I really was successful. I just did a TEDx. I did my first TEDx. It was
congratulations.
Thanks. It was hard. I worked hard on it. And it got viral. It went viral with millions of views. And
Yay.
that was a success. I mean, yes, getting a TEDx was my bucket list and I crossed it off the list, but success came in being able to share my message with millions of people. So I took that gift and I redefined success and something else that maybe I wasn't reaching. I'm like, well, this is enough because, look, I got my message out in these particular ways and I'm redefining success, and that's okay. And I feel good about it.
Oh, you should feel good about it. That's amazing. I would love some clarification. Why do you need to redefine success based on that? Because I would think, is it because it was difficult to prepare for it, or did it not check a box that you thought that experience should check? Can you say more about that, please?
Yeah, absolutely. I really believe that I just didn't savor in the moment
Mm.
and look at the success in a broader way. I was looking at it in terms of I did this, it was hard, and I felt good about it and I performed well instead of, hey, you got your message out, you're passionate
Ah,
about your message, millions of people viewed it. I just redefined success and kind of looked at it and really took the lid off the pot to just kind of look at it differently and to find more joy
mm.
in what had happened.
That's beautiful. So, what is next?
Well, I have a new book, Beyond Busyness. So I have been doing a ton of talks and workshops. And right now I'm doing a lot of speaking. I love getting out into the community and sharing my busy busting process with people so that they can live a well-lived life. And I've been working a lot within organizations who are looking to up productivity and bottom line results. It's just a tough time organizationally. And so a lot of
Mhm.
organizations, they want employee engagement. They want their employees to be happy and healthy and feel like they're in alignment with their values and they're searching for a way to do it. So this busy busting process works really well personally and professionally. And right now I'm kind of leaning in to that professional side of it.
I love that. And I love that you have also, made the bridge that this, of course, works in a professional setting and in an organization, regardless of the employee count. But you can also implement this in your personal life, having how your energy feels at the end of the day, and do you feel depleted, or do you feel like you've been in contribution and you are blissfully tired? How you have connected with other people, and do you feel connected? Like you said, there is a loneliness epidemic, and sometimes when we are either outgrowing our current set of friends based on, I mean, I don't know, I turned 50 and a lot of things changed in my life, and as the way that I think changed, and there were some casualties to that are not available anymore to me. So sorry, I feel like I'm really guarding my words as if they're listening. They're not listening because they don't want to be around me anymore.
Yeah, and it's not even, we talk about subtraction and eliminating low value activities, but subtraction can be eliminating low value
Yeah,
people that don't
yeah.
align with where you're at. And it
Right.
doesn't mean that that person isn't amazing and awesome.
Totally.
It just means that that type of relationship is
Yeah,
not being productive for you. It's not giving you what you need. And
right.
so it's time to close that chapter, maybe open it up some other day. But for right now, it's not serving you. Let it
Right.
go.
Thank you for that. And I completely agree. And it's just time to complete, which is fantastic. And I think that one thing that I've heard from women is, well, it's really hard then to replace those relationships. And I think that when we are trying to replace them, as in have the same exact thing that we had, but with a person that we're aligned with, there is some trouble in that because that's not organic. That's just replacing the green shoes with the orange shoes. You can't just do that. So, opening our minds up to the ways that that connection actually is effective. For me, prior to the pandemic, I would have considered a friend someone I had actually met in person, but I made amazing
Yeah.
friends that I am deeply connected to in different online opportunities, and now of course with this podcast. There's no way that I'm going to say I am more connected to the lady at the grocery store just because I've met her in person than I am to you or to these fabulous queens that have really surrounded me during this epic transition in my life. So I think that there's a way that we can redefine what connection looks like. We have a beautiful community here with the podcast, the Say Yes Sisterhood. And that's all that we're doing is cheering each other on toward our next yes. And it's a beautiful way to experience community. And then, of course, growth is the result of all of these other things that you've put into place, which of course validates your authenticity, who you are becoming, what you stand for, what's important to you, and how those all work together. So I love that your four values that you identified. I have no idea how you interviewed 12,000 people and you're so young, but that those all not only play off of each other, but are circular in how they feed into the success of the next actual value step.
Right. I mean, I actually keep a values report card. I write down the four values and I grade myself 1 through 5. And then and I'd be honest with myself. And then I take the value that I didn't grade the highest and I say, I'm going to work on that tomorrow. What one thing can I do tomorrow to improve that value? And I will work on that. And then I'm a step closer, and many times it's, self-care. So many women, it's so easy to
Yeah.
put self-care on the back burner. We just have 1,001 excuses for not doing it. but there's no excuse really. And so when I measure it, anything that gets measured gets improved, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so if we are measuring our values on a daily basis, on a weekly basis, then we can recognize where we're falling short, not give ourselves grief about it, but just say, what can I do tomorrow to step into that value a little bit more?
Mm, I love that so much. It's so great. Thank you for that. I have one more question, and you're welcome to not answer it. We can edit it out. But I saw a couple of times your husband walking back and forth, and I know that he comes in even when you are working on a spreadsheet. How is this purposeful growth practice that you are actively taking part in and presenting as a part of your work and presenting on to organizations and to readers and to viewers of your TEDx? How is that playing out in your interpersonal relationships? Is he on a growth trajectory of his own that you guys get to cheer each other on, or how is that working for you? I'm just curious.
No, I mean, I have a very strong relationship with my husband. He
It's
makes me
beautiful.
laugh. He has my back. We have a very non-traditional relationship in that we communicate a lot and ask each other what we need. And I
Mm,
love my career, so I'm busy with that. So my husband helps out with a lot of household chores and laundry and things like that. And he's knows that they support me. And so he's happy for that. And vice versa. When he tells me what's important to him, I make room for that and make sure that it
mhm.
happens. So I think we're in partnership together. And the funny thing, I mean, when you've got the right guy in
Yeah.
your life, when you can just sit in a room and just feel their presence and have
Mm,
that be enough. And I think too many times we just don't find that right person. But every pot has its lid, and all relationships take work. And certainly my relationship has had ups and has had downs. But I'm really happy that when we hit hiccups, we talk about them, we
yeah.
clear the air, and we make it right. So everybody's in a better place.
Well, that's beautiful. Thank you for that. I think that you recognizing something that took me a really long time to recognize, that happiness is an inside job. And that when you realize that you can't outsource that, you are just more enjoyable to be with as well. But I love these practices that you have. The podcast that I referenced that I was listening to yesterday that was recorded pre-pandemic, the couple, they have a date every quarter. And I mean, they date more than that, but this particular practice is they list out their goals for the coming quarter and they go out to dinner and they trade goals, and the wife reads her husband's goals for the quarter and the husband reads his wife's goals for the quarter, and they figure out a way that they can support each other, knowing what's important to them in the next season. And I think that's so beautiful. And you used the perfect word that sums that up, and that's partnership. And I think that's really beautiful that you did not have to make a decision to be in service to people outside of your home at the expense of being in service and in partnership inside your home.
Yeah, I really believe better together. My husband
Yeah,
makes me a better human being, and I believe I make him a better human being. So to me, that's the most beautiful thing in the world.
for sure. Oh my goodness. Thank you so much, Peggy. I have loved this conversation. Please tell everybody where they can find and follow you, where they can get the book, all the good things.
Sure. People can go to my LinkedIn, Peggy Sullivan Speaker, or they can go to my webpage, peggysullivanspeaker.com. And I always tell people, hey, I love hearing from you. So please reach out to me. Grab a virtual coffee. We are better together. And I am here to support everyone. If you've got a challenge or a problem, please reach out. Please ask. I get so much joy out of helping organizations and individuals step into their power. And sometimes we just need a different approach. And hey, guys, I got an approach that's working really well for so many people. So please tap into it.
That's such a gorgeous invitation. Thank you so much for that. We will link everything down in the show notes. But, listener, I am telling you, she means it. She means it when she is inviting you to reach out, just like I mean it when I'm inviting you to reach out. So, please take that step. That invitation is coming from a sincere and authentic place.
Yes. And they can also, if they really want to read it, they can also buy my book on
Totally.
Amazon. It's called Beyond Busyness: How to Achieve More with Less. And it's the type of book, it's a funny book and a fun book. And it's a book that you can pick up and put down. You don't need to read it beginning to end. So it's a great little shortcut to how to improve and get to a life of more meaning.
Mm, fantastic. What a gift you are. Thank you so much for your time.
You're quite welcome. And thank you for having me. It's a blast.
My pleasure. I hope you enjoyed that conversation as much as I did. As always, any links or notes mentioned can be found at phineaswrighthouse.com in the podcast section of our site or in the show notes below. And if you haven't connected with me personally, come find me on Instagram at Phineas Wrighthouse and let me know you listened to this episode. I'd love to get to know you. Thank you for sharing this time with me. I know your days are full, and I'm really grateful that you chose to spend some of your precious time right here. Be sure to subscribe to the podcast so you don't miss any of these delightful conversations. I'll see you next week.